Welcome to the Safety Third podcast. This is a very special episode.
Cave edition.
A silver mine.
Silver mine edition.
First podcast ever in a cave.
You might be wondering, how did we bring power into the cave? We didn't. It's all running on batteries. And you know what that means? If this stops recording abruptly, it's because everything died.
Including the lights.
Well, I was going to say. And if this podcast never gets published, it's because we probably died.
Yeah, if you're watching this right now, then we did not die. And if you're not watching this right now, then we did die.
Don't touch my stuff.
We're at the Cerro Gordo silver mine.
Correct. Yep.
In a cave.
Or a mine.
No, a mine.
A mine.
Even more dangerous than a cave.
Yep. Mines are definitely more dangerous than caves. There's a big debate between the caving and the mining community. I like to make sure that everybody's aware that we're in a mine.
A mine is way worse than a cave.
Way worse.
Because caves have survived millions of years of the earth shaking.
Yes.
Mines don't usually survive.
They're in like a metastable kind of
This was
state.
made by, potentially
a bunch of
teenage guys with dynamite 150
Drunk.
years ago.
We can say children.
Yeah, potentially.
Kids.
This mine was made by children.
By miners.
By miners.
Miners.
That's really good. How long you been saving that one?
Years.
So, in this mine, there are bats right above us.
All
There is
around.
an actual bat. Where is he?
Right there.
Oh God, he's gone.
No,
He's right there.
He's right
There's
there.
one, I think actually
Is
right by
there?
Jacob,
There's
right
one
by your head. I
there.
think there was one over there, right?
Oh yeah, it's right behind
it's right
Jacob.
behind you.
You could have touched him, actually. You probably brushed up against him. So just don't let him bite you, right? Because of the rabies.
See another one? I think there were 3 in here. Well,
There's.
one of them.
I see 3 right now. I
You do
see
see
3
three.
right now. 1, 2, 3.
I counted 5 earlier.
Okay.
5
Well, you know.
This cave is filled with bats.
Not a bad.
This is as real as it gets.
This is as good as it gets.
Thanks for letting us do this.
Of course. Thanks for being back here. This is the first time that I've ever done this. This is the best lit that this mine's ever been.
Yeah,
It's looking good.
The children would have been able to see so much better when they were
So much
taking
better.
Since the dynamite explosions.
Right. That's
little flashes of bright light.
And there's actually, you can't see it because it's a hole, but behind us, directly behind this couch, is a hole that is how deep is it?
Over 100 feet deep.
Over a
literally?
10-story building.
Right,
but
I was
in
just walking
reverse.
right back
So if we
there.
all were to lean back.
Have you not looked down the hole, Kevin?
Look back there?
Oh, I had no idea that
You
was
didn't know
back
the
there.
hole was there?
I just stepped over it to put the light there.
No.
Kevin! You just almost fell down a 10-story building where the hole.
I'm not going to step where there's not ground.
I can't believe you gingerly stepped over a 100-foot hole in the ground.
Listen, all holes are the same. I'm not going to fall in any of them.
Right.
Oh, 10 feet, 100.
I don't-
It's not the fall that kills you,
It's the hitting your
the
head on the
bats
rocks
that
as you
bite
fall.
on the way
It's the impact.
It's the bats that suck all your blood out of your body. I just realized that
Many
the audio
things.
listeners, this is not going to make any sense
Oh
at
my
all.
God, you are missing out on a lot, audio listeners.
Oh my
'cause
God.
It sounds totally normal, but we're in a mine
We're
right now.
literally in a silver mine.
There's rocks, there's malachite, there's a shoring, wooden shoring that's 150 years old. You're missing out, guys.
You can see.
Why is there a hole behind us? What's this for?
That would have been a winds. So winds is a connection to a different level of the mine. So they were connecting to a lower level of the mine over here.
Okay.
So they would have gone from one level to the next without. If they didn't want to make it a proper shaft, they would just throw in one of these to get to the next level.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for your mind facts.
Yes.
Yeah,
I got a lot
so,
of mine facts.
how there's a lot more mine than this here, right? You said there's 30 miles?
In total, there's about 30 miles of mines at Cerro Gordo.
This might be my favorite podcast ever. I love this. I've had such a good time just riding around in dirt bikes around this place on a dirt bike.
It's like an adult playground.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do here.
It's more dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit of danger. Makes it fun.
But do you see this thing right here?
Oh, yeah, the
Holding up all
support
that
here,
rock.
They just
holding this whole
jammed. They
cave
just
up.
started jamming wood in there.
You can just see all the
wedges.
shims in there.
Yeah.
And a 4x6 holding up the earth, the entire weight
So
of the earth.
when you go to Home Depot and you're in
Yeah.
the lumber department and they come over, hey, what project are you working on? What do you need help with? You just tell them.
Mine shoring. Yeah.
You're I'm shoring a mine. What do they say?
They're supportive. So usually
They
around this
supply-
area.
Wait, was that a pun?
Oh,
Damn, I should have stopped it right there. They're supportive.
Sorry. I thought I noticed the joke, and so I ruined the actual explanation.
You ruined the moment, Alan.
No, a lot of the people in the surrounding community know of the mine just because it was such a big deal in this area. So they always know they don't have to weird projects, so they don't really ask too many questions.
Same, relatable.
Where's the closest hardware store?
Lone Pine has a hardware store, which is about hour and 15, but the closest Home Depot is Ridgecrest, which is probably about 2 hours away.
Whoa.
Does Amazon Prime deliver here?
Not up here. No, working on it. I've got to call in with Jeff, but
Oh, yeah.
it hasn't been returned.
Get the drones
quite
up
yet.
here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be perfect. It'd be a perfect like use case for them.
Good testing site, lots of landing area.
Yeah.
They could do the big drones too for like when you order big stuff.
I want them to be able to take me off the mountain with a drone.
Have you ever done the thing where you're almost back from the Home Depot and then you realize you forgot something, but it's 2 hours
I don't
away?
allow myself to even get into that mentality. That's why I realize that when you live in the desert, people often become hoarders or pack rats. And it's because for that exact reason, you're not going to go back to the store. The store's too far away. So I found myself just filling sheds and sheds and sheds of stuff just in case.
Wow.
And so that really doesn't exist anymore. Usually it's I have something that I can fashion into working up here.
I just learned that I would probably
That makes
fit
a lot of
well in a
sense.
desert. That sounds like
We've been
I didn't
wondering
even need
that.
to live in a desert to do that.
Right, it's a good excuse if you are already
Yeah,
a hoarder. Move to
Yeah.
the desert, then it's like, oh, I live in the desert.
Everything's so far away. You have to.
I mean, you get a lot of good excuses and passes if you live in a ghost town. If somebody wants to do a Zoom meeting, I live in a ghost town.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's
Anything.
nice.
Got out of
Internet
it all.
is-
Yeah.
You gotta
Sorry.
mine it where we brought.
So you're living your life,
Yep.
and then you're just like, I'm gonna buy. Oh wait, no, you're living your life.
Yes.
You're on the Zillow, and you click on the silver mine
Yep.
or just
That's
the
still
abandoned mine
Section
tab,
of Zillow, yeah.
and then this came up, and then you just
Popular one.
bought it.
Not quite.
Did you have to make an offer?
Had to make an offer. So I was actually in Austin, Texas. I was running a bed and breakfast.
Okay.
And it was in a historic building from the 1800s. So I loved history, hospitality.
You just love old
all those
shit.
things.
Yeah.
I love old shit. And so my friend, he was living in Los Angeles at the time, and he saw this listing to buy your own town. It was it was on some small
Yeah.
blog. And so he sent it to me as a joke in the middle of the night. He's like, oh, this might be your next project, LOL or something like that.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I was like, that's it. This is it. This is going to be it. And so I remember just waking up and starting to research all the history of the place. Because
Yeah.
I love history. And it was just kind of the driving force here. And the more I read about it, the more I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing that's ever,
So it was for sale, on some random little blog. That's the only
Yeah,
place
that's
it was mentioned for sale.
Well, that's where it was first mentioned. And then it got some
Yeah.
more attention as it became a little bit more popular, I guess.
Okay.
And so it became a bidding war, really. And so we were up against these other people that wanted to buy the mine. The word had gotten out that you could buy your own town. And I think that the American West holds this romanticism within American history.
Oh, yeah.
The idea of buying a town straight out of the Wild West was just so cool. And so we started bidding on it. I didn't have nearly enough money to buy it. So it was more call friends. Hey, do you want to invest in a mine? If they ask more than one question, it's click. I remember one guy was like, how much will the internet be? Click,
Yeah.
just anybody that would
You're
be
asking the
down.
wrong questions.
Yeah, I'm not going to have paperwork for you for a while.
Is there an elevator?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Just things like that. And so scraped it together and then closed on it. Closed on Friday the 13th, which seemed very
That's for
Yeah.
appropriate
Yeah.
for a abandoned town with lots of ghost lore in it. And the rest is history.
So when you say you like history,
Yeah.
is it sort of just old American history? Because we a couple podcasts ago got some shit for shitting on the school system in U.S. history. People
Yeah.
got,
Yeah.
I think I don't know if they misinterpreted it or if we just have a bad take.
just bad
Do you
people.
like all the presidents, or do you like just the sort of Western?
No,
image of
I
history?
think I couldn't name, probably 10 presidents, I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I think that.
Who's your least favorite president?
Ooh, least favorite president. See, I couldn't even name one.
Nobody cares about presidents.
Who's the guy on the who's on the dime?
That's Abraham Lincoln.
Theodore
on the
Roosevelt.
No, he's not.
Roosevelt?
There's a penny. I think Roosevelt.
I don't know. Whoever's on the dime, I would say no to that because why is it smaller than a penny? Fuck
Yeah.
that guy. Whoever's on that.
How do you feel about the penny?
Archaic,
We should get rid of it, probably.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I've heard it costs more money to make a penny.
That's what I've heard.
Because back in the day, you probably could have actually used a penny,
Right,
when
it
this
would've made
mine was
sense.
operating.
There was probably pennies made by ore from this mine.
You think so?
I
Yeah,
think
there's
so.
some malachite
That's
up
like
there.
copper
Yeah, that's
ore right
copper,
there.
Yeah.
A lot of currency was actually made from this mine because so back in the day,
I was right.
The closest mint was San Francisco Mint, and so if you have a silver dollar from, let's say, 1870 to 1885, and it's from San Francisco Mint, and you can look on them to see where which mint they're from. It was probably from Cerro Gordo silver.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Because at that period,
cool.
at that period of time, this is the largest silver mine in California, and all of the silver was being shipped to Los Angeles and then shipped up to San Francisco, where the majority of it would go to the mint.
That's
'Cause
amazing.
Michael was asking literally earlier if he's touched any silver from this mine, and
Right.
that means
So he-
probably yes.
Yeah.
I would. How
Well-
funny would it be to like try and put it back? Like you just gotta put the silver dollars and
Buy-
throw them back in the hole.
Buy a bunch of ones, melt it back into the cracks.
Yeah.
Just hammer it
That's a
back.
good idea. I'm bringing it back. Give us our ore back.
So you not only inherited a town,
Yep.
but there's we just went exploring. There's like I don't know how to describe it other than like what Disneyland wishes it was. Like the Thunder Mountain Railroad
Yeah.
is a replica of literally this.
Yeah, there's like a city below the town is how I like to describe it. Because there's actually more going on underneath the town than there was above ground. And everything above ground was only existing to service what's going on underneath ground, So it's a really
Yeah.
weird mentality towards it. And so like at any one time, you figure you have hundreds of people existing underground doing all this weird stuff, and everything upstairs is again just to service those guys,
Yeah.
the restaurants, the clothing stores, the everything.
Really, that was all here. They had like, it wasn't just like a
Yeah,
company.
So at its peak, there was 4,000 residents at Cerro Gordo, and at that
Wow, I
period
had
of
no
time,
idea.
to put it in perspective, Los Angeles only had 6,000 residents.
That's
So
wild.
that kind
Wow.
of puts it in perspective, like how big this town was in its heyday.
Yeah.
But like any mining town, it had booms and busts, and so like
Gotcha.
the main thing was 1865 to about 1880. They were pulling out tons and tons and tons of silver and lead, and like adjusted for inflation, it's something like $500 million worth of minerals they pulled during that period of time.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Which leads you to believe, or at least me to believe, that like you couldn't have gotten it all.
So is that how it happened? Like they think that they were out of silver, like they
Right.
ran out of ore and the town kind of died off, and then like somebody found a new deposit and it sprung back up again.
Yeah, so like the original was silver and lead. The price of silver dropped a lot, and so then it wasn't economically viable to continue. So in the
Okay.
1910,
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
1910, this guy comes up named L.D. Gordon, whose house we were staying in last night, the one with the Christmas tree. So like
Oh.
Gordon came up and he discovered that while everybody was paying attention to lead and silver, nobody was paying attention to zinc. So he started mining zinc for another like 20 years. And so into the 1930s. And so for like a mine to have an active life from like 1865 to 1930 is like a really long life for a mine.
Yeah.
Most of the time, like 5, 6, 8 years is what they thought they might get out of a mine. So the history here is like long, So the big innovation in mining was the rock drill. And the rock drill allowed you to not have to do it by hand. And the rock drill would drill it, and then like you'd put it in dynamite and blow up.
What does
And
by
that-
hand mean?
Meaning like a piece of steel.
Was that the thing where you cranked it and it was like clink, clink, clink,
No, it
clink,
was
and
like
it hammered
they
into
had
the
like
rock?
they had like a piece of steel that they would put up against it and hit it. And so like that was called like so like if you were doing it by yourself, it was
That's a
called
hammer drill.
single jacking. And then if there
Single
was
jacking.
two people doing it,
Oh, double jacking.
Something about single
And so-
jack.
What do you think the most they've ever had on one steel pipe? Like a 10, like a
maybe like 10
a
guys.
jack?
So like to,
A,
in order
a circle jack.
in order to do it like
Octo jack.
Jack.
I don't know
Come
if
on,
they ever got an
boys.
octo jack. But the problem is like if you're the guy swinging the sledgehammer and you miss and you hit your friend that's holding the steel that it's supposed to turning, you
You're
have a
not
problem.
friends anymore after that.
But then they made the drill and the automatic drill with compressed air. But like that just created so much dust that all the miners started dying within like 2 years.
Oh, like cancer,
yeah, 'cause
psychosis.
all, exactly. Because
Yeah.
it all
I mean,
getting lungs.
but the work must go on. So.
So what they invented, which is pretty cool, is like they started blasting water out of the end of the drill because the water would keep down the dust.
Yeah.
And so then if you look at the drill bits, that'll tell you kind of how old the drill was.
Oh, okay.
And so like if the end
count
as
the
a
rings?
whole- yeah. And they would drill back, and that's how they were able to like continue mining and not dying as much.
Do they have to pipe like all that stuff? There'd just be huge hoses or something coming in?
Yeah, everywhere. Just like running
then
into
pumps,
the mines,
probably?
pumps, everything like furnaces to like burn wood to like create the steam to do all the things. that
So
you
where
needed
did they
to
get
do.
the water? Like, was it the same place you get water now, or
So, like,
kind of?
Kind of. So water's been an issue here since day one, but for a while they had 2 springs that were around here, but they ran them dry within a year, both of them. So they were dry. So at its peak, I mean, mining is very water intensive. So they're using something like 40,000 gallons of water a day, all being brought up on mules.
Oh my!
Up that
Wow,
road.
you thought the miners had it
the road
bad.
that you guys just came up too. And
No
so, like,
way.
A lot. Like,
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
it's not
And
an
that
easy
was
road.
this is a nice road
The
compared
road
to what
is
it was.
really nice now, and plus you guys weren't using mules, you know.
Yeah.
So mules, 40,000 gallons of water every day, plus all the supplies. So that road was busy back in the day.
Are there pictures of what the road used to look like the worst?
Yeah, there's
and
some
it's
photos.
bad.
And Belshaw, one of the original owners, he didn't own all the mines here. He only owned a couple of the mines. But then one of the other mine owners threatened that he was going to take his ore and refine it somewhere else. But Belshaw owned the refinery, so he wanted it refining it here. So he purposely allowed the road to get really, really bad shape. So that way, like, you
the
wouldn't take your
classic.
ore off the mountain because it would be too difficult to take your ore off the mountain.
A business god.
Yeah.
That's like kind of when Amazon did that thing where they fought diapers.com by selling diapers below cost. So they lost
just to
money.
destroy
Just to,
them?
like, screw them
man.
over.
Classic, like, Rockefeller move.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I feel like there's got to be so much insane lore to a place like this, having
yeah.
what was this? What did you say? 60s to 30s?
Yeah, 1860s to
70
1930s.
years?
Yeah. There's so much lore. There's so many like stories. And I think that like for me, after I bought it and I waded into all the history, you know, there's books, there's newspaper clippings, but then there's like the oral history too. It's interesting trying to wade through like fact and fiction. Of like that's the case of any history, right? Like all history, you have to figure out what's fact and fiction, and like history is repeated by the victors. You know, they say sometimes,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and so like you kind of struggle with what is actually true. And also, I think that like part of mining towns is people that were there wouldn't let the truth stand in the way of a good story sometimes,
Right.
and so you have just these preposterous stories that sometimes they're true, sometimes they're not, but like there's a lot that happened here one way or the other.
I mean, there's like actual like bodies in the mine too from back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like
Whoa.
you
Like,
can document a lot of the murders and a lot of the deaths that happened here, like in the newspapers at the time. And the most infamous of that was in 1871. There was about 20 or 30 miners that died in a collapse at the 200 level. And I think it's interesting that, and it's kind of a
200
side,
feet below ground.
200 feet below ground. They're taking out too much of the ceiling. The ceiling collapsed and it killed them. And the kind of, do you guys cuss on this podcast? Or
Yeah, you
not?
can do whatever.
Right, the
Yeah,
kind of fucked up part about it is that like in the newspaper article they said somewhere between 20 and 30 miners. So
Oh, they
like
just had
they were
no
so
idea.
disposable to the owner.
my
Oh, wow.
God.
He didn't even-
They didn't even know. They were like,
And-
whatever, 20 or 30 miners died
So
down there.
they don't get the bodies out. So those bodies, they're like in here,
They're still in the
You
main.
own the land.
in-
They're
interred
in the body.
in this mine.
Well, I mean, not only are there the bodies that are still in the mine, there's a cemetery here too. And the cemetery is like 300 people.
It's 200
buried
feet
in it.
underground.
Have you ever found human remains here?
Not that I'm aware of.
you-
Found a lot of bones, but
How does that work? Because you own the land
Right.
and
Your
the
bones.
mine. Like, if you find bones, what do you? Can you just like? Could you like screw it to the hood of your car or something? Like, what are the rules?
I think then you venture into like this
That's how you get
before
ghosts.
before it was a mining town. It was like Paiute and Shoshone tribes were here.
Okay.
So I think you get-
You're definitely getting ghosts.
yeah,
Double
you
haunted.
don't want to
triple haunted.
kind of get triple haunted.
Yeah.
So
Would you
I-
call somebody? Like, what would you do?
it's a good question. So probably not.
Like, who do you call?
but I would-
911.
What,
Found
there's
a
no,
dead
not even like
body.
living family at that point. Like, what would you just?
What
I don't know.
what I am interested in is like the cemetery here. They don't know exactly how many people are there because back in the day they used to make headstones out of wood, and the headstones would wash away over the years.
Oh.
But they do have these things like cadaver dogs, you know, that can like detect ancient remains.
Yeah, like ground penetrating
Oh,
radar
yeah.
stuff too.
And so like I would like to know how many people are in the cemetery to maybe put up a plaque for like the unnamed, 200 people that are up here or whatever.
If you have a dog that can sniff out dead
Yeah,
bodies,
if you're out there and you know how to find ancient remains, I've actually gotten pretty far down in this rabbit hole, and I won't
Yeah.
go too far on the tangent. But there's like dogs that are trained to find remains up to 10 years old, and those are pretty common. Those are the ones that like
Yeah.
sheriff office uses to try to find remains. But like the ones that finds like 100-plus-year-old remains
God, it
are
just smell
very
like
rare.
dust.
There's
like,
like
what
there's
do
like
you smell?
there's like
Bones.
4 dogs in the U.S. that like do it.
How do they even train them to do that though?
I don't
Like they
know.
just give them sampled old.
I don't
dead
know. And like I tried to
bodies?
get like
You just have it like in a freezer.
and there's one like really infamous group that does it that went out to like try to find Amelia Earhart on that
Oh,
island and all
man.
that.
Oh, yeah.
And like they were supposed to come here and do it, and then they kind of bailed. So come on out if you have that dog.
Yeah.
You have a dog that knows how to find really old dead
Very
bodies.
old
Yes.
dead bodies.
Right.
Bones wearing Levi jeans.
Oh,
that
yes.
sort of thing.
We're gonna throw the bones away and keep the Levi
Yeah.
jeans.
Well, you mentioned like those jeans, because I'd seen like some TikToks of people sort of like mine exploring and
Yep.
getting jeans. And you said like
That's
that
probably me.
collectors can buy those for like $100,000, like old
Wow.
intact Levi jeans.
Yeah, the blue jeans as we know it was invented by Levi Strauss in like 1871, and like it was a workwear originally, so they were kind of like coveralls.
Oh,
so,
you like how we're all wearing jeans because we're all very
Yeah, we're in the
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah,
We're in the mine.
Me
right.
and Will and Kevin.
Right.
Are,
They're
like,
probably
really
thicker than this.
These
Yeah,
will
they're
save us
thicker,
from
heavy
the
duty.
and they're
Yeah.
they're made to go over your other pants.
Oh, okay.
And so I think like the two most
No
common
skinny
questions
jeans.
is like, no, they're like, why would there be pants still in the mines? And the reason is because
Yeah,
like
I was wondering.
Oh yeah.
there's like probably two
they were
answers.
triple jacking.
One,
Sorry.
eventually, the jeans were often owned by the mine owner, and so you would change into them when you got to the mine.
Oh, so they
And there's-
did. They weren't even
Yeah.
their pants.
No,
they were.
because they would share
Wow.
them. They would be like a uniform, and they'd be shared because they were more like for like workwear. But getting back to it, like if you were able to find an original pair of Levi's from the first year that blue jeans were ever made, like denim collectors really want those. So they've sold for 100,000, more than 100,000. I mean, there's people that their entire profession. There's a guy. Shout out Britt Eaton. He's my friend, but he goes by Original Indiana Jeans is his handle.
I think I've seen that.
And so
actually.
his profession is finding old jeans in mines.
Do people wear them?
Yeah, I was gonna say, does that guy ever? Do you,
No,
like
they-
that's
they,
such a
like-
flex to wear.
Yeah.
It would
These jeans cost $100,000. They're like crusty and falling
the
apart.
first pair ever.
Yeah.
I think they just put them on a wall, which is unfortunate. But
You probably can't wear them at that point.
Yeah,
they'd
probably
probably
not.
just.
How much are the bones that are in the jeans worth when they shake them out?
yeah, I mean that's a question for Britt.
What's
I-
worth more, the bones or the jeans?
Depends on the guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Greg will buy the bones. Jerry will buy the jeans.
Yeah, exactly. Ideally, you can double dip.
Oh yeah.
150-year-old bone broth. It's delicious.
Kettle and fire.
Well, okay. There's laws
I'm
against
sorry.
cannibalism, right? Like in the U.S., you can't just eat people, but can you boil the bones from a mine that you find?
I mean, like at the end of the day, you can do anything if you don't publicize it. And so, I mean, like, that's the reality of
Wise
the world.
words.
Yeah.
And
so like,
safety third
what happens
should
in the
not
mine
be
stays in the
if you
mine.
hadn't have brought this up on the podcast, then yes, I could have done it. But now you've kind of ruined the idea of 100-year-old bone broth.
I sort of have a nightmare question.
Okay, I'm ready.
If you took a steak and you
Yes.
brought it pretty deep into the mine and just sort of stuck it there, what would happen to it?
Like a beef steak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Would it decompose how you would expect it to, or is it pretty void of life in here?
Is there
So the-
anything in here that would eat? Like the
I
bats
mean,
wouldn't eat it, right?
Where we're at, there might be like we're not too far from a portal, so maybe something came back. But if you were to go down to let's say like the 300 level of the mine and go back there, it's like extremely dry down there. So I'd be interested. It would be an interesting kind of like
Probably
my-
consider
experiment.
that chicken nugget.
You see where
maybe
I'm going with this?
maybe end up with like beef jerky.
Oh yeah.
What?
The miners that
They're
are
still-
like,
they're
trapped, like
still fully
what
there.
condition?
No,
right.
they would be. They're full of
150 years.
bacteria.
But I mean, if it's dry
Yeah.
and you're surrounded by like dust will kind of like suck the moisture out of you.
Like mummify them?
Yeah.
Minor jerky.
No, I don't know.
What were we talking about? I was checking for the bats if they were still here.
They're
No, they
Oh,
are.
shit.
There's that one.
Oh, there's
there's
one.
that
Oh,
one,
God,
and there's
Christ
the one
almighty.
that Jacob ran into. Yeah, they're all still here.
They have not
Rabies
moved.
is usually not transmitted by aerosol, but it's happened.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God! You just gave me an entirely
If there's
new cave fear.
But that's like if the
mine
cave,
fear.
cave is covered in guano and it's like in the air.
No, really?
Yeah, I think it's
rabies
happened.
can be transmitted via that.
Yep.
Oh,
no.
God, the world is awful sometimes.
yeah. But
What were
you
we?
can dig
Yeah,
giant holes in it.
I thought we were talking about eating minor jerky, is what I thought we were, but that's not what we were.
What if we ate the miners?
Wow. That's pretty.
Sorry, was I was
No,
just
you're on point.
okay.
So nothing to worry
Trying
about.
to take contextual hints, and I got it completely wrong.
Man. I think that you could probably do it.
That would be pretty horrifying. How hard would it be to get to where they were? Pretty bad.
Almost
have
impossible.
You see? Oh, it is.
Yeah, because like you have to figure there's hundreds if not thousands of tons of material that fell on them.
Yeah.
And so like getting there, they weren't able to get there during the day.
Mm.
And there was even like a big push to get them out during the day and they weren't able to. And so these days, I mean, yes, technology is advanced. And if I want to make like my one mission to get in there, I'm sure I could. But like, I feel at this point, there's like, something about like peaceful. I don't know. They've been there for 150 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you want
it's
to go in
kinda-
and eat them?
Right. Yeah. Where's this leading?
I feel like no one's brought
Steal
up the
their
idea of like
genes?
digging up a cemetery. This is pretty similar. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
It's the
think
same
what
thing,
if it
but
was one of those
different.
things like
Instead of coming from the top, you're coming from the bottom.
I think the mining company might have been like, oh yeah, hundreds and thousands of tons of rock found
Right.
them. Impossible.
Yeah.
And it's just like one stone.
One rock, and they're like, yeah,
One
it was
rock blocking the
big
entrance.
cartoon.
like 20 to 30 people. We don't know.
Yeah.
Oof. What about like in the town itself? Like,
Yes.
like you mentioned, sort of like these tall tales. What's sort of like the most where you read it and you're like, that's bullshit. Like, what's the most unbelievable story about this town?
There's a lot. There's a lot of like infamous characters of the West that came and spent time here, like Butch Cassidy that came and spent
Do you
time
think
here.
it's true? Do you think that he for sure
Potentially,
spent
you know, like also like the Earps, you know, if you've seen Tombstone, like the famous family from that like Wyatt Earp spent time here, which again, like,
I don't know who that is.
so like he was like a peacemaker in these different towns, particularly in Tombstone, Arizona, and like a sheriff basically.
Okay.
And like there's a really famous shootout in Tombstone, like the shootout at the OK Corral, which they made the movie Tombstone about,
time?
and he was like very central to that shootout.
Okay.
And so then he wandered the West, going from town to town, like kind of visiting these
Shooting
towns.
people.
Yeah, shooting people.
Bad people.
We've heard those.
Or
I mean,
bad
there's
people.
other ones that like. So my favorite one that's like partially true, you know, is like there was a murder here in I think it was like 1870s by a guy named William Crapo, and William Crapo,
Creepo.
yeah, William Crapo lived right next to the. He lived in this cabin, and he was formerly the postmaster, and then he lost the election. And then the new postmaker and him got into an argument with each other. And so he shot the new postmaker dead in the street. And then he ran. And in the newspaper says the last time he was seen was as running into a mine.
Oh my
And then they never
God.
saw him again. And then like the governor of California came to Cerro Gordo. And this was like in the newspapers to like offer a reward to find this guy. And they never found him. And so like the idea of a guy just disappearing into a mine is like
Oh man.
very like hard for me to believe.
He's still
but
living in here right now to this day.
He could. And like he gets really upset when his name gets
Eating miner
mispronounced.
jerky.
And so,
What they elect postmasters? What would a postmaster do to get elected?
they just,
they
I
still
don't
do
know,
that,
you know, like
actually.
shoot enough people.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Local
Yeah, I
elections are
guess.
wild. I think there's all
Yeah.
kinds of people that get elected that we have no idea.
What would your
about.
platform be as?
I will deliver the mail on time.
Yeah.
All right, you have my vote. Actually,
Have you ever discovered anything like in here?
The mines?
You're just like on the property, like something kind of
Yeah, all the time. I mean, there's every day it's almost like,
any hidden treasures.
yeah, so I see it almost as like a puzzle that I try to put together. And every artifact that I find kind of pieces together that puzzle and sends me on different rabbit holes. And like probably the most common places to find things from the past is when anytime you move dirt. You have to figure like there was 4,000 people living here. They weren't taking the trash off the hill, right? So they're throwing
So
it.
much trash on the hill.
So
over
much
there.
trash. And then the best places to find any type of like potentially valuable artifacts is in like old outhouses are a great place because they would like throw the bottles down there, they wouldn't break. Old bottles can be very valuable, which I think is like somewhat interesting. But I think more interesting than that is like whenever I find like an entrance into a level of the mine that I know hasn't been explored in a very long time.
Yeah.
Because when miners left, they weren't thinking like, let's use jeans as an example. You know, like they weren't thinking, hey, you know what? In 150 years, these things are going to be worth
Oh, yeah.
they're
$100,000.
thinking I shat in those.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm not touching them.
They would, well,
Like this couch might be worth like $1 million one day.
yeah, right. What? It's a funny story about the jeans and shitting in them.
Oh, no,
yes, shit jeans.
So for a while, I would explore the mines and I would find denim, but there would never be full pairs of jeans. They would be like, squares.
I think I know.
They would
I
be
think so,
squares of
too.
denim, and I would be like, man, why is there all these squares of denim everywhere? And then you realize that like if you worked a 12-hour shift and you were 400 feet underground and you had to go to the bathroom, you need toilet paper, and if your jeans had ripped, then you're going to cut up your jeans into squares and use that as your toilet
They
paper.
come out of the mine.
And so I just have,
in their pants.
I was
Have
just,
a bunch of squares.
I have tons of squares with
make the most
150-year-old.
progress.
They probably never
Poop
thought
on
that
them.
they could be reused, but at this point, they just got cleaned by time.
Right, they're clean. I mean, they're
Wait,
good to go.
I'm sorry. Have you ever taken a shit in this mine?
In this particular mine,
Yeah.
or just at all the mines in general?
This one.
This one we're sitting in?
Yeah.
No.
What? But
That's
you
a
have
perfect
shit
toilet.
in
I
a
think-
mine.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think we know the answer.
Yeah, the fact that you had to specify you've shit in a mine before.
I mean,
What are you gonna do? Not shit?
yeah.
Yeah.
I would. That sounds.
I,
would
one
love to
time,
shit
one
in
time
a
I spent
mine.
48 hours in the mine. I thought it'd be fun to like totally get the full experience, you know?
Like a full, so you lost sense of like time. There was no sun.
Yeah.
There was no.
There's no nothing, and like you do start to like hear voices. Like
Oh my
there's a certain
God.
effect that it's called. I can't remember the name of it, but like
Going crazy?
I started hearing like crowds, and
That's
so then
really scary.
it was scary.
fun?
Your brain.
It was
plays
funny
tricks
because
on
like you guys saw the elevator, so I had them take me down to the 700-foot level, then take the elevator away. So there's no way that like I could like
And you were like, come back in
ever
2
get
days.
out.
Was this a video
Yeah.
you did?
Yeah. and I was
What?
like- I was like, come back in 2 days, and
You
then
just had like a backpack full of jerky or something.
I kind of went the opposite direction. I like wanted to eat really well, so I brought like shrimp and steak, and like,
my God.
I brought a pina colada maker down there.
That's actually amazing.
Yeah.
And there's
a slushy machine.
that's the level with the little water pool in it too. So I brought like a float, so I floated around in the water.
That's
cool.
It's freezing. Yeah, it was a bad idea. Potential hypothermia situation,
Oh
but
God.
um,
And then you took a shit down there, huh?
yeah, I had to.
Do you think if you had told one of those miners 150 years ago that someday a man is going to collect all these little shit rags,
Right.
what would they have thought?
And make a suit.
I think about that stuff a lot, or even like that I would like purposely spend 48 hours down there when they're like doing
Oh, yeah.
back-breaking work, like almost killing themselves, and they're like, he's gonna take a leisure vacation down here
They
with
would have
like
thought it was
shrimp.
hilarious.
I think some would
they
have a
would've
good
laughed.
sense of humor. I think they would have a sense of humor about picking up the squares
Yeah,
of shit, 'cause, like that's
yeah.
like fuck you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so and also in like mining towns, like they played a lot of pranks. You know, like there's like these books that you find about like mining lore,
Oh, no.
and they would always play pranks on each other about different things.
Like
and so
I would not appreciate a prank
No, when
happening
you're-
in a mining town
when
in the
you're-
1800s.
no, especially when you're like 500 feet underground, and
Yeah,
like, they
it
like
involves
blow
dynamite.
out your candle to think it's funny, and that's
Oh
your
my
only
God.
sense of light. And then
Everyone runs away.
yeah,
That is, wow, I thought the YouTube prank channels were back. Can you
Right.
imagine if no one's
gonna-
even filming? You're just
I'm
like,
gonna-
"Ha, is that funny?
My prank is I wiped my ass with your jeans while you were wearing them.
Can you build a toilet over this hole so you can just listen
That-
to
Oh
it?
my God, that would be amazing.
It would be a great experience.
Oh my
It
God.
would be like
Flood the
Rick's-
mine at the
Rick's
bottom.
special
Flood
toilet.
it at the bottom, and so you can hit you. Wait.
Splash.
how many years do you think it would take to fill up the hole?
Oh my God.
I don't think you could.
I don't think so either.
It would all. You'd have to have like people coming in literally 24 hours.
Hey guys, I need you to contribute to a project I have going on.
Any sort of a science experiment.
Then we'll throw tons of bottles into it, so that future generations can experience the same
Yeah,
thing that I
yeah.
experienced.
They can experience the plastic beer bottles you get at a
Yeah,
NASCAR.
there you go. Go ahead.
Don't
No.
you? No.
I mean, does it really
I
matter?
mean, no, but still, no. I don't know.
When,
You know
does- when that's, I think about that as well. Like, when does trash become an artifact? You know, so like
Yeah.
when you find a 10-year-old bottle, you're like, you fucking person, you littered. You know,
Yeah.
But you find a 100-year-old bottle, you're like, oh man, this is really cool.
That's true.
And,
Even
like,
20-year-old bottle is kind of cool.
exactly. So like, there's a
Yeah.
fine line there.
There's like some old Pepsi cans in the hills. I was looking,
Right.
a lot of old rusty tins that have been just completely smashed, and those they're kind of boring because you can't see what they
Right.
were, and they're boring trash.
You know what would be cool? Because probably this never happened, but what you could do is throw in like unopened bottles of stuff so that in the
Yeah.
future people could drink like a
Right.
100-year-old like Budweiser. Yeah.
So I've probably left at this point 10 to 12 time capsules. I love leaving stuff.
Oh,
for,
you actually
I
have.
love leaving things for people in the future because I know how much enjoyment I get out of finding things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so I try to put myself in like the 150-year now me wandering around. So like every building that we build, I put stuff in the walls. You know, every
I see.
underneath
squares.
Blood smear.
yeah.
Shit smears.
Under the foundation, I put
Wow,
all
look
these
at
time
ancient
capsules.
paintings.
Can we do a safety third time capsule? Can we put some shit in a
Yeah.
tin and bury it? And
Yeah, let's
Diarrhea
do
in a
it.
can of beans?
Yeah, can we put diarrhea in a can of beans and just tell the listeners like where it is and like an email that automatically goes out in 100 years?
We can schedule a video to publish on the channel.
Yeah,
There we go.
100
Yeah, I like that.
YouTube will be around in 100 years.
It's an uncensored version of Alan taking a diarrhea in a can of beans.
That's a thumb drive in the can.
I mean, in 100 years, is it even diarrhea
No,
anymore?
I think that it's just
It's
dirt.
just gonna be dust.
It would turn back
gonna
into
be
beans.
smelly.
What do I tell myself?
If you sealed it, it would stay. It would be fine. It would be
Define
perfectly good.
fine. Define perfectly good. So we had quite an adventure getting up here.
Oh yeah,
The road's not as bad as it was a couple weeks ago, but it still is not meant for 2-wheel drive cars.
not meant for two-wheel drive cars.
How many sedans have you seen come up here?
Not a ton. And when I saw the vehicles you pulled up in,
Very special vehicle.
Very
Why are you
impressed.
laughing? What's wrong with
it
our
was.
cars?
You know, it was a first, and I think doing a first in
Wow.
a town that's 150 years old is difficult.
It's like
So
a mom saying her
congratulations,
kid's
you know.
painting.
That is the
Congratulations.
nicest
We
thing
did
I've
it.
ever heard of
You guys made
someone.
it. You did it.
That's the nicest thing I've ever heard someone say about our work.
Yeah, you guys did a great job.
Can we leave them up here?
Yeah, we can find a spot for
Wait,
them.
actually-
No way.
Because one of them definitely does not drive anymore.
We might need to borrow some gas.
Yeah, we got gas.
Yes.
I
Yes,
mean,
okay.
the thing is, we don't actually have enough seats in the. We need to actually drive at
Really?
least one of the shit cars back. Yeah, we have to.
Are there any cliffs here?
There's some cliffs. There's some privately owned cliffs.
We could put a dead miner in it, so it looks like it was an accident, and we're totally clear.
Where we're gonna find a dead miner?
I know a place.
Like, yeah, dude, this guy crashed a car like 100 years ago.
Have you ever thought that maybe like you could put a dead body in here and like after long enough it would just look like it was always here? Like have you ever considered that?
I think you could tell.
You think you could tell?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of holes here, you know.
How far would the government go to try to find a body in this mine?
Like if right now, if the entrance collapsed, would they come get us? Do you think?
How long would it take for them to get us?
Like, how far would they? Like, if let's say,
So like 50
Theoretically-
feet in, they'll probably try to get you.
let's say, we put a dead body in the hole behind us.
Sure.
Would they go down and like look for
it depends on who it is, I think. You know.
Well, it's just a guy.
What if-
Just
yeah,
some
it's just a
What
guy.
if, what if it was Alan?
Hey, well, if people watch this podcast are gonna know where I
They're
am.
gonna know.
at.
How much rock would you dig through to free Alan from a cave?
Maybe three.
Leave a comment below,
Comment below,
to say how much rock you would dig through to free me from my tomb. I hope it's more than one. I hope it's more than one rock.
Just half a rock.
Well, this was a very incriminating. Series.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
interesting. Very interesting. So what is off limits to you? Where do you draw the line in these caves? Because from everything that we've experienced, like,
Sure.
this is like, you know, sort of like almost like childhood kind of you
Yeah.
know, dream of like a
It's
mine.
Minecraft.
There's an elevator. There's
Yep.
the scariest elevator you've ever seen in your entire life.
Yep.
It takes an entire building.
Yep.
It looks like I've
service
seen
it.
similar
Yeah.
sized things that run like the trolleys in San Francisco. Like it
Yeah.
is absolutely
gondola.
gargantuan
Yep.
for a
lift.
single elevator.
Yep.
What won't you do?
As far as exploration goes,
Yeah.
at this point, it's kind of gotten to the point where it's scary, or there's very little. You know, I think when you first start going into mines, you go like 50 feet back and run out, and then 100 feet back. But then for me, it's like a curiosity thing. Like I see, again, the town's history as a puzzle, and I see any like piece that I haven't filled in as like it bothers me, it keeps me up. And so like there's a USGS report that goes over every level of the mine, and so like for me, I want to go into every level of the mine, but going to every level is different. Every level is more dangerous or less dangerous. And at this point, like I'm like rappelling 300 feet on rope into like a void where you don't know how deep it goes. And so there's not a ton that's off limits at this point, just because it's exciting to me. And like when you say that out loud, or like when it really gets me sometimes is if, let's say I video it, it's like in the editing process, when you look back at the footage, you're like, ooh, that wasn't that wasn't the best idea. But in the moment, it's like, people talk a lot about flow state, right? Like, and like, I'm so focused on just whatever is in front of me that everything else just like fades away.
That's how the helicopter was invented.
Well,
Oh, we lost the light.
ghosts.
Okay, well that's one. We still have two more, so we're gonna keep going until all the lights are gone. And then this is actually the safety third time capsule, is us sitting in this
Yeah.
couch right now.
Come and find us buried in a mountain.
100 years from now, you're gonna find us
Where-
just like this.
Where I did draw the line though is like I found myself one day just like there was a very collapsed tunnel, and I found myself like very vigorously digging out the collapse.
Oh my god, that's
and I was like,
panicking.
and it was collapsing while I was digging out the collapse.
The reason it's not
Yeah.
collapsing anymore is
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's stabilized.
Yeah, it was like continuously collapsing as I was digging out. I was like, all right,
That
I have to
is
stop.
actual nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Like sandstone in Minecraft.
Oh,
Yeah, have you ever
yes.
played Minecraft?
Sand.
I played Minecraft. I played Minecraft in a mine, which I might be the only person
That's
to ever do. I don't know
incredible.
if anyone else has
Wow.
done that, but
That's
I've played Minecraft. I've also heard the story of the Nutty Putty mine. I don't know if
Oh,
you guys-
yeah.
Oh no, yeah.
No,
that
no,
one,
no.
That one's
Okay,
like
yeah.
that's a classic
That's
on
a
Reddit.
classic.
Down or something?
Yeah, where he like tried to get through a hole and he got stuck and he died kind of inverted
And they
because
left him there.
heart failed.
Yep.
Yeah, because
I
they
think
couldn't
back
get him out.
there, there's like a
Yeah.
little collapse part, and I kind of wanted to go up and look
Yeah,
over,
you
and I'm
thought
like,
of that?
I'm not going to look over. I'm just
Yeah.
going to leave it.
Yeah.
yeah.
You need like one of those fiber reinforced concrete guns that's like chopping glass fibers and spraying epoxy.
And I could go anywhere.
Just over the next 20 years, just coat the entire inside of the mine. Did that work at all? It might stabilize it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because support and stabilization are different, right?
I think maybe you just bring in a solid steel tube and you just
That's what I was
replace the
thinking.
mine with a series of tubes.
Imagine you died from inhaling epoxy fumes.
So, oh yeah, the thing that's happening to the cave also happens on the inside of your lungs.
Okay, so I think my biggest like kind of question about you
Yes.
is how do you go from being a guy
Yeah.
to being a guy who owns a mine?
A mine
Yeah.
guy.
Like how, where, why, how?
Yeah. I think sometimes like people think of big decisions happen slowly, but they really happen in a second, right? You really just decide. And so like in this circumstance, my friend sends me the listing.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I don't have the money. I make a few phone calls. I'm lucky enough where like some friends say yes.
But
So it starts, like, becoming
do
more
you
possible.
Why were you even why would you even consider the idea?
Because it just seemed like why not, right?
Exactly.
It
I'm
seems
with
like
you
it's
on
almost
this.
like it's almost
Yeah.
like I was thinking about it and I was like on my deathbed, right? Whether this is a huge failure or a huge success, if like I could tell my grandson, yeah, once I once owned a town, you know,
Yeah.
then like it's cool. So there's like the intangible benefits. As far as like an ROI, if you're looking at it as like a spreadsheet, like investment, like
It's
pot-
red. It's just-
potentially the worst investment you could do, you know?
Sure,
Like
it's
yeah.
just flashing red.
just a money pit. You know, this town will consume all of your resources. But as far as like life experience, like I think that like
Oh, for sure.
I've changed like as a person as a result of this
it's the same
town,
one again.
which
Yeah.
like it takes a certain type of project to like change you to your core. And like I didn't know that going in that this would do this, but like since living here, like I feel like I have changed dramatically,
Better or worse?
mostly for the better.
Okay.
Uh,
a little bit
mostly
worse.
for the better.
A little bit
Sometimes for the worse. Like, but that type of
Do you
project
miss
is like
not
rare.
freezing to death at night?
So like in those, and most of the time this is like as cold as it gets. You know,
This
if you
is cold
guys have
as
visited,
shit.
yeah, it's
It's
really
getting
fucking
colder
cold.
by the minute.
I'm
in
also
here.
from Florida, and so like it is
Yeah.
quite cold for me,
man.
and I don't love having to burn wood. But like the trade-off is I get to take my dirt bike into the most beautiful like
That's yeah.
uninhabited wilderness that I could.
I
every
was just
day.
doing that today, and it's like I get it. I get why you're out here because it's so nice, and like the view of this place is amazing. And
we're like
I think it really scratches some kind of primal itch,
because
you know,
we're-
to be
we're
out here and like
8,000
collect
feet,
things and
8,000 feet.
maintain something like this.
8,500
Yeah.
feet, is it?
And like be alone in the
where we are?
woods.
We're about 8,500 feet in elevation, and yeah, it's like it just ticks so many boxes. It's like the history. I'm a huge history lover, so like that's interesting.
But not
My-
presidents.
Yeah,
Not
and
president,
Nobody's
no.
nobody's a fan.
Whoever's
of, like,
on the dime, fuck
Anybody
that
that can
guy.
anybody that can name every president, I don't trust.
Yes,
That is-
exactly.
Not
Yeah.
at all. That's
Honestly,
weird.
Same
Like,
with people who wear suits. They're just trying to look like
Presidents.
smart.
They're
what
trying to
they
look
wear
like
suit-
presidents.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think then? Yeah, it's a whole other thing. But I'm on the same page as you. As
So
far as
where
presidents go.
were you like what were you have you talked about what you were ever before the mine, like what were you doing? Were you just sick and tired of like
a little
corporate?
bit? And so I graduated. I moved to New York City. I went to school to be in investment banking because that's what people tell you should do. And so I thought that'd be interesting. It's not. It's the most miserable job in the world. Like if you're an investment banker, you have to quit. Like
I want to
today.
be going down an elevator on a 8,000.
Well, it got there
Yeah.
slowly, but I was like, I just know I don't want to do this, so I quit. And then I traveled a lot, and then eventually I ended up in Austin, Texas, where I started working with authors. So I do like book marketing for authors, and so I can still do that. I still do that to today.
Are you the guy that makes every book a #1 New York Times bestseller?
I've done a lot of New York Times bestsellers.
Wait,
yeah.
how does that work? Tangent. How
So,
is every
like-
book the bestseller?
They just
Yeah, that's
all are.
so you should
A bunch of little
they are.
categories.
So actually, I did like this big expose about that a while back, where when people say their book's a bestseller, typically they're trying to bank on the fact that you think it's a New York Times bestseller, but it's really probably an Amazon bestseller. And Amazon's extraordinarily easy to be a bestseller on. Basically, to prove that point, like I took a photo of my foot and I put it up as a book, and then like you can choose your category on Amazon, and there's a million categories.
There's a lot of people
Yeah,
like
yeah,
feet
okay.
though.
And if-
I'm not
yeah.
sure.
And if you top out a category for 1 hour on Amazon, then you're a bestseller.
Nice.
But on the New York Times, it's a curated list of 15 books, and they pull all the independent bookstores around the country to who's actually selling a lot of books.
Oh.
So it's very hard to be on the New York Times list. It's very easy to be on the Amazon list. So most people are like, I'm a #1 bestseller, and people conflate it with New York Times.
like make the stamp kind of look like.
yeah,
the-
exactly, the New
Yeah,
York Times. So that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. But
Okay, so you were making books #1 bestseller.
making books bestsellers. Really missed the atmosphere of traveling. So like I traveled a lot, and I stayed in a lot of hostels, you know, like backpacker, like bunk beds and all that. So I started a hostel in Austin, Texas, in a Victorian mansion. It was like this 1800s building, and the idea that like you could come and not just like experience the sights, but like stay in a piece of that town's history was interesting to me. But a hostel, there's only so much you can do. Only so many beds you can put in the things. It was in downtown. The lot was only so big. I was looking for like to break out into something bigger. And so like this is 380 acres, 22 buildings.
Backs up to public land.
Backs no neighbors anywhere, you know. And so this was just like it scratched all those itches. And I was like, if there's ever a time that I'm going to do this, it's like right now, basically. And so
you were just kind of felt a little stuck, maybe with what you were currently doing.
A little stuck, a little bored, looking for that. Like I think a lot of people look for something that like challenges you to your core, so you can see what you're made of. Because I think that like I mean everybody has difficulties in life, but like I hadn't had that thing that was like test me to like what are you made of kind of thing. And I knew this project was going to test every aspect of that. I think that's why people do stuff like Tough Mudders. Tough Mudders don't make any sense. Sorry for a tangent, but like why are you purposely
That's a whole
experiencing
podcast.
why are you purposely experiencing hardship? It's because you want to prove something to yourself. And so I think like this like idea of like purposeful hardship was like ingrained somewhat into this. It was like it's gonna be fucking hard. It's gonna be important, because I think that like preserving this town is important. And if you can like believe that the work that you're doing is important, then you can almost like persevere through anything, any ups and downs. And so like I think that like preserving this town is important. It was going to turn into dust otherwise, like the buildings are falling down, people were forgetting about it, nobody was understanding it. And so like I was like I could kind of put this town back on the map, so to speak, and maybe preserve it for future generations. And like that's a pretty good way to live.
That's awesome.
It's like an accomplishment. Like because I think that everything we do sort of revolves around accomplishments of like I want to do a thing,
right?
And you figure out how to do it. You struggle, you learn, you put it together, it doesn't work. You try something else, it works a little bit. You do it again, and it's like even at the end of the day, you end up with something that is like not like I don't want to say useless, but like what am I going to do with this? It's impractical. But it's like getting to that point is super satisfying.
Totally.
And there's a lot of very similar vibes here of like making it work. Even though it
just
might
like every
not...
step, everything you fix is like a little accomplishment. by itself.
And I think every time you like to your point too, like when you get to the other end, like I think that the skill of like figuring something out, like let's call it like figure outable or whatever, is like a muscle that you can exercise. And every time you figure something out, you get more confident that you can figure something else out. And like
unless it's an elevator
goes
in
2
water.
miles,
8 miles. How many miles does it go down?
Nightmarish amount of land.
That one I don't want to work on that one.
And so then like I don't know, it's just like up here I figured out so many things along the way that now it's like they can throw probably anything at me.
You feel a lot more confident in your abilities to like, do stuff.
Did the Victorian mansion have an elevator that went a mile into the ground?
No elevator. So I'd been looking for elevators for a while. Just a big elevator fan by nature. And so like
I want a really big one
though. Yeah.
How deep does it actually go?
900 feet.
I mean that's almost a quarter mile.
900
That's
feet.
almost an entire quarter mile. That's a 90-story building, but straight down.
Yeah.
I always
when you put it like that, it's a lot worse.
Well, yeah, because like
it's terrifying.
It's a lot scarier.
It sounds like a lot, but to imagine it above ground instead of underground, I think always has more.
How
impact.
tall is the Empire State Building?
I think like 1,100 feet.
So and when was it built?
So it's almost
There's no
it's just
service in
shy.
Somebody pull up it on the internet.
Yeah, so,
like
there's that service down here.
So basically, this like mine elevators were like the sort of tallest elevators.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, and to think about that, like when we're dangling over the edge of looking down the hole, right? It's like imagine if you're on the top of a 900-foot building looking over the edge of the 900-foot building. You probably wouldn't do that, but like, for some reason you're comfortable looking over a hole
because you can't see the bottom.
It's like an inverse building.
Yeah, you don't get the perspective.
Have you ever been to like Disneyland California Adventure? Or I guess any theme park. They do forced perspective. Where they like
to make it look like the castle up on the mountain.
Right. So if you have like a tower, they'll like make the tower like a pyramid.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that like it gets smaller faster, so it looks like it's further away.
Yeah.
The hole does that.
Yeah.
But it's not forced perspective. Literally, like the squares get smaller, smaller and smaller and smaller of like the wooden ribs going down, and it's like,
and you're like that shouldn't happen, right?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's so deep. And it's difficult to like divorce yourself of that idea as you're going down the elevator, because like if you think about it too much, you just will never go down. And so I try to just like look in front of me. Don't think about it. Yeah.
There's an equation we could plug into to see how long it would take to fall down a 900-foot hole. I think it's way too long. I think you'd have way too much time to realize.
I think it would be like 5 seconons. 10 seconons.
Would you reach? What is the?
Can you do? Oh wait, you can do it.
I'll do it.
So it's like.
Ian, is my phone on the table over there?
9.8 meters per second squared.
There you go.
Oh yeah, maybe don't eat. There's a hole behind us. Okay. If we do,
Yeah, I mean, it's only 100 feet over there,
Or
though.
16. Was it 16 feet?
It's 900 feet. Do it via
Gravity would be 32.
You could do it
right?
via
32,
energy, right?
yeah.
So 900. Oh god, this is.
Oh,
Oh
16
no,
square.
and it's in. No, I don't.
You're not. No, you're not gonna do it here without internet.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it in.
Let's just say 10
Wait, what's
seconds.
900 feet to
Imagine-
meters?
Like 300 meters.
Okay, so we do 300 meters.
And it's 9.81 meters per second
So
square.
300, 100. Oh, how much is it? How much?
Wait,
is
why
it?
is
Mass
mass?
is- you don't need
You don't
mass.
need mass.
You don't
if
need
you're
mass, but
following.
this is gonna be the only way I can do it right now.
Okay. All right. So it's 50 kilograms. Wait.
Well,
how
actually, I
much
think
is
it does
kilogram?
cancel out. So we'll do that. Okay, so then it's 1/2 mv squared. So this is the energy. So we move everything.
Oh, you're doing this by
over,
energy.
Wow.
Oh man, this is a little roundabout.
divided by times 2.
What's 9.8? So then second number
Divided
2, you're
by
going to be going like
50.
18 meters per second.
And then
Second
the
3.
square root. Wait, hold
forget,
on,
is it
hold
like-
on, it's
You
happening.
reach terminal velocity
What was
at
it?
some
Five,
point, right?
five,
Yeah,
eight,
probably like,
eight,
you know,
or something?
150 miles an hour.
Zero?
Okay.
So
76 meters per second.
yeah, that's about.
Is your final?
That's like
velocity.
about
So yeah,
150.
you'd be going like 150 miles an hour when you
Yeah.
hit the ground, and then you could. I don't want to do the other one. That's probably the fun fact. 150 miles an hour is you'd be splatting into the ground real hard.
That's pretty fast. That's pretty
Yeah, I don't
fast.
think you're surviving that.
I mean, that would take.
You have some time to
At
think.
least 4 seconds.
I think it's more than that.
Yeah, that's why I said at least. But
Someone leave a comment if
yeah,
you
how
want to.
how
figure it
long
out.
you have to contemplate that you're about to hit
These
the
are-
bottom.
There's
of
not a lot of
line.
oxygen.
These are like the
up here for our
basic
brains.
questions. Okay, you know what? Screw it, we could do it. It's velocity 0 plus its
You
acceleration
can just do
times
this
time.
1 second at a
So
time.
if we know the final velocity is 150, is that what it
But
said?
that's
No,
miles
it was
per
70.
hour. Yeah.
If it was like 70, and we're dividing it by acceleration, AT, acceleration times time, so 9.8, 7 seconds.
Is that?
yeah,
I mean, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's a long,
long
time to
time.
be following.
Plus you got air resistance, so you probably actually would be like 8 seconds.
Well, once you hit 150 miles an hour, you're going to fall constant.
Well, I
after
think
that.
the size of the shaft might actually increase the air resistance because you essentially become the head
Oh,
of a
you're right.
piston.
Yeah.
No, there's
You
enough
might actually
space.
have about 10 seconds.
To contemplate how badly you fucked up to fall into a
Realistically,
mine.
Yeah.
I think that you'd hit your head pretty hard about halfway to
Yeah,
a quarter
you'd bang
down,
off one of the
and you'd
sides.
start
Yeah.
spinning
Yeah.
around really fast, and then
Yeah.
you'd hit your head again, and you'd
Yeah.
probably be
That's
like
ideal,
a mess by the
honestly.
time you got to
Yeah.
the
My
bottom.
only like reference point for this is like as I'm going down the shaft on the little ledges of wood,
There's chunks of
there's-
skull.
there's lots of mice, so they don't fall straight down. They actually fall and then hit the sides.
Wait,
and
are they
get-
dead? There's
they're
little-
dead. Yeah, yeah. There's like little
Whoa.
mice
mummified,
jerky.
mummified mice on the way down.
Wow.
Wait, so you do know what they might look like?
Oh yeah,
So they have
the
fur
mice.
still.
They still have fur. Yeah,
So you get just sort of mummified. In here.
Yeah, the skin is still on them.
Mice are really tiny, though.
Yeah, pretty small.
You should get a piece of meat and put it in a mine.
But would the meat have to have skin on it then?
I don't think. I think
No.
something weird would happen. Like I think it
I'll
would
put a-
just.
Because there's
Put a
there's no
steak down
bugs in
there.
here,
Yeah.
right?
There's no bugs down there at least.
That would be cool.
I feel like if you brought anything down there, it would just die.
Yeah,
It's like a quarantine almost.
because they don't have anything to eat.
They don't know how to use the elevator or the flashlight.
Yeah, they're
signals.
screwed.
That'd be cool. What if
The
could you-
elevator-
what sort of legal certification would you need to sell like mine jerky here, where it's like jerky made in the mine?
I think
Or
they're
just
onto something. I'm down to do
strips
that.
of beef that you just
I
kind
would
of
do mine jerky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
pretty
would
dry
eat
out
mine
here.
jerky.
It's,
I think that's a decent idea.
yeah.
I don't know any other jerky being made in mines, and like anytime you can create your own category for
Yeah,
any product,
yeah.
it's pretty important.
You could like make a box with like HEPA filters and you
Yep.
just pull mine air in, and so like it keeps it clean.
Yep. But it's in the mine.
But
But I
it's in
feel
the
like
mine.
the dust is part of the taste.
How do you
I
make
think it's
jerky?
part
Though?
of the
Jerky just
seasoning.
leave something in
Yeah,
a
you
mine.
just leave it. And
Dry
it's-
it out. Yeah.
Yeah. They salt the crap out of it too, and so it like it.
If
just
you do it with the
doesn't-
dehydrator, you don't need to do that.
No, it's
Yeah,
got to be
but-
mine jerky.
gotta be mine jerky.
mine
But
jerky.
mine sucked
but
it
aren't-
up.
but isn't like part of the debate that we're having is that like how long would that take?
Mm.
Oh,
Wouldn't
I
it-
think it would,
couldn't it be,
if you
like,
sliced it into
years?
like jerky, no, it would
I don't think
like
years,
days.
no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't know
days.
about days. Days?
Yeah,
You
with
think
some
they-
airflow.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, let's make some mine jerky.
Can we? Yeah. Wait. Where's the nearest place where we can buy a steak?
How long does it take for the
Quite a
mine to
ways.
suck you dry?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Financially, no time at all.
All right. We were looking at the elevator and looking. I saw, one of the videos. We were messing with the water here.
Yeah.
I had an idea. I think we could probably help fix it at some point in the future.
That would be awesome.
I don't know if I want to go down the elevator, but I would consider it.
God.
Chelsea would not at all.
I mean, that would be huge. I mean, water has been an issue at Cerro Gordo for 140 years. And so if we're talking about...
They've always trucked it up.
They had a spring for a very short period of time, but they dried it up within like a year. And
so,
so then they were muling it up, yeah.
And you now are using a military vehicle
truck to get it up, yeah.
And so you've got, and this is bizarre to me.
Yeah.
There is a like kind of a well
Yep.
that's on the 700 level.
At the 700-foot level, they dug out, like they realized that for some reason, water's trickling in from the side of that level.
Yeah.
So they dug out a sump that's like probably, let's call it 15 feet by 10 feet by 5 feet.
This is a big shallow pool.
Big shallow pool. And they redirect the water from where it's dripping into the pool. From there, it goes over to a pump. From the pump, it goes over to the shaft. From the shaft, it goes 700 feet straight up, and then it comes into town.
So there's levels below that.
There's the 900-foot level.
So there's a pool of water
Yeah.
at the 700-foot level.
Right.
And then underneath that is more mine.
Yeah, but it's weird. If you go to the 900, there isn't a pool of water.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So they just found this leaky bit
Yeah.
and then capitalized
They dammed
on
it up, and then they just were pumping it out.
And so you guys are just having issues with the pump
So
is
also that's-
unpriming and
That's not 900 feet under, like, below sea level. That's like 900 feet deep into the mountain.
Right,
So, like,
exactly.
where's that water coming from?
Yeah, I think it's just like
Like,
snowpack.
snow
that's
melt.
Yeah, just like-
slowly.
circle of
I
septic.
mean, where's it come from in Minecraft? Don't dig up.
I mean, it's like
right?
one mountain. It's
Yeah.
like that's
I
like
think
the
it
kind of thing where if
slowly
there's an
drips out.
earthquake, that it's like going to reroute
Right,
all that
reroute
water.
all the water somewhere else. It'd
Yeah.
be crazy.
Have you guys ever tested the water? I was talking to a friend who said that there's
This is
probably
like a
arsenic in it.
lead mine.
Right.
Ooh, oh,
so they
right.
apparently they tested it in the 90s and it was all good, but like
Huh.
we only use it for non-potable stuff like
Oh, like
toilets,
concrete
you
and
know, and like concrete.
Oh, okay.
So we don't. I'm not drinking any of the mine water. I'm not even
That's
showering
probably
with
smart. Yeah.
it. I'm sure like these
It
days
tastes really good.
filtration's
and
pretty
sweet.
far advanced. I'm sure we could filter it to the point where it would be fine.
Yeah.
But it's just.
I have a question. All
Let's
right.
hear it.
Let's say you get a time machine, but it only works once. It's a one-way trip. Would you go back to like the 18 whatevers? Would you come
No
back? Would you
way.
come back to Cerro Gordo in its heyday, but it's a one-way trip? I
Run
mean, you
for
could come
Postmaster
back here,
General.
but it's the long way around.
You could
Right.
you could stash a bunch of jeans
I would.
with no poop on them.
But for who? It would have to be for like he'd have to leave a note for. I mean, you wouldn't. Your friends wouldn't even be up here because if you went. I mean, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I
I'd do it.
guess.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You would do it?
You would go back in time one
definitely.
way.
I would love. I think often like I would love to see the town in its full heyday because like what's interesting these days is like we come up here and we comment on like the peace and the nature, but like when it was a mining town, it was chaos. The mine ran 24 hours a day. The refineries ran
Wait, they
24
ran
hours
this
a day.
20. There was miners.
There's
in your
12-hour
20
shifts. Yeah, so 24 hours a day. The mine was running
I
24
guess that
hours.
makes sense because
yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
day or night down here.
So it doesn't matter what time of
And
day.
people were murdering each other.
Murdering each other. You get the
Saloons,
the
brothels.
saloons would be open 24 hours a day because who knows who's getting on and
Nice.
off shifts. The brothels would be open 24 hours
Yeah,
a day.
which one was the brothel?
There was a couple of brothels.
Are you
here.
gonna build that one back too?
Was that the
It's
bunkhouse?
standing up again. It's the Lola's Palace
Is that
of
where we
Pleasure.
stayed in last night? Oh, no.
Palace of Pleasure.
Wait, I want to see where the brothel is.
Lola's Palace of Pleasure. We can show it to you. Yep.
Wait,
Oh my Lola
What
Travis.
was it called?
Lola's Palace of Pleasure.
Oh my god.
you're actually pitching this one-way time machine idea really well right now. You're making it sound not that.
Well, right
bad.
now you're about 2 hours away from the hospital. There you're 100 years away from a hospital.
Yeah.
That could cure
Yeah.
you of the diseases you're gonna pick up in Lola's.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lola's
Pleasure.
hepatitis palace.
Still cheaper than an
Wait, no,
ambulance
Lola's
today.
hepatitis hotel.
There's also the Dynamite Library.
Yeah, we had the
That
dynamite.
sounds fun.
Yeah.
That would actually. I mean, man, wow.
I would definitely go back because I would love to see it like humming, you know, like busy with life
I mean,
again.
that does sound
It'd
insane.
be cool for like a day.
Yeah.
You're like,
I
man,
think-
I wish
I
I,
think
hadn't
for-
gone back on.
For me, the more interesting, or an interesting like caveat with that is like, would I rather go 100 years into the past or 100 years into the future here to see what this place is going to be? Because like I'm pretty much dedicating my life to like making sure this place sticks around for a lot longer. Like, and so I hope that in 100 years it's still here. I hope people are still enjoying it. I hope they're still visiting the hotel, you know, and doing all these things. But that's out of my control.
Is it though? I mean,
I mean, not day to day. Like day
What
to
if you
day.
stashed a pile of jeans in 100 years
I
from
did
now?
that. So-
they
so-
could dig it out.
So Levi's, if you guys are watching this, I pitched Levi's on this. I was like, give me all of your like off, like, you know, that you can't
yeah.
sell.
no, give you good jeans.
yeah.
And then like I wanted to bury like tons of them, like 10,000 pairs.
Wow.
And a time capsule because I love thinking about Levi's. Like buried somewhere in the desert.
Did they say no?
They said no.
What?
Levi's.
Nerds.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Come on.
Levi's.
Suck. And this is how you
Yeah.
found out. This is how you found out that
Just
you
found
suck.
out
Yep.
just now, Mr. Levi.
Sorry, whoever is working the marketing team for Levi's should be
Yeah, that video alone.
fired.
Buried
Like
with the
millions.
jeans.
Buried
Yeah.
with the jeans. We'll
Like
bury you.
the
You
ancient
see this hole
Egyptian.
behind
And
us?
then
You
we're
can't
gonna
see it.
and then we're
But
gonna
know
eat
it's
your
there.
mummified
Imagine a
remains.
very
They know that we're
deep
looking
hole.
at you
Imagine a
right now.
10-story building upside down.
It's not a threat. It's a promise.
Yes.
Is this a crime? Did we just commit a crime?
We're joking. Now it's not a crime.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming up.
Yeah,
this has been a
This has
blast.
been an amazing experience.
Thank you so much for having us.
Ghost Town Living.
Ghost Town Living.
Hmm.
That's the YouTube. But I think we did a lot of first. Your first cars, first podcast in a mind, to my understanding.
Yeah. No one can
And,
take that from us. And if they
ever.
try, then we're just gonna ignore them.
It didn't happen. So
Yeah,
thank
we
you
really
guys.
appreciate it, and maybe at some point in the future we'll try to help you fix the water, or
That'd be
make it
awesome.
worse. There's a chance.
Hey,
There's-
you know,
that's-
you can't really go
Yeah,
worse
we-
at this point.
Yeah,
It's already.
if we got
pretty much
sedans
as
up here,
good.
we can fix the water.
I like that attitude. I appreciate you guys coming up.
If you want to see the video of us exploring the mine and the elevator, you can go to the Safety Third Patreon. Thank you guys for supporting us. It allowed us to buy 2 cars and fix them
Yeah.
and make them better.
Much
and
better.
improve them.
Yes.
Anyways, thank you guys for supporting us. We've got the video of us coming here. When did that come out? Of us making up the mountain?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Can I go ride the dirt bikes some more?
Yes, let's go ride some dirt bikes.
Kevin's like, I can't believe Kevin wants to leave the mine. I thought you were gonna want to go deeper and deeper and deeper.
No, I want to find
It
more
does
mine
feel like it's
stuff.
actively becoming colder in here.
Yeah, my
The names-
it is
the Patreon names are
freezing.
coming across the
as
screen
we're
right
going
now.
right now. Yeah. Ooh, look at this one.
Is the
Ooh,
bat
look
still
at
there?
that one. The
Oh, shit,
bat,
it's gone.
That
Oh,
bat,
no, it
is.
they're all still there. Jacob, your head is still very close to the bat. No, don't do that. Oh no, don't do
Look,
that.
point your head up and a little bit to the left. No.